America officially declared their independence as a country on July 4th, 1776. Flash forward 220 years, where Nintendo and Sony decided to collaborate to create a CD add-on for the upcoming Super Nintendo Entertainment System, known as the Nintendo PlayStation. Too long didn't read, Nintendo decided to commit adultery by partnering with Philips instead, and after Sony and Nintendo's divorce, Sony ripped the Nintendo off of the Nintendo PlayStation and made the PS1, and the SNES CD add-on ended up being canned, most likely due to the reception of the Sega CD. And in order to dissolve their contract with Philips, Nintendo threw some of their own franchises at them, so that way Philips could better promote their own console that they were working on at the time, the Philips CDI. Out of this deal, there were 15 games, but half of them are completely unknown, leaving around 7 of them. And one of those 7 games was a little game called Mario Takes America. Now, have you ever wondered to yourself, what if Mario was real? And what if he had Second Amendment rights? Well, that was the thought that newcomer Toronto-based game developer Sigum Entertainment was going to answer. Mario Takes America was to be an FMV edutainment game that would require the CDI's digital video cartridge, which allowed the CDI to have more power when it came to games that used FMV graphics. It would feature Mario traveling across the United States from arriving in New York to traveling all the way to Los Angeles, all so that Mario could star in his own feature film. Very funny foreshadowing.
Monkey!
The game started development in 1992, and for the first year of development, the team mainly captured footage of a handful of environments, and all was going pretty smoothly. Other than one of the programmers leaving within the first 3 weeks of the project. Why, you may ask? Well, it's because he looked at the CDI's specs and left shortly after that. But it's probably just a case of inexperience with a new console, right?
No.
After the first year of development, Mario Takes America really started to struggle, and it was mainly the fault of the hardware that they were working with. The CDI was many things. It wasn't powerful. The devs quickly faced problems working with the hardware itself, having to cut animations and backgrounds, as if they included all of them, there wouldn't be enough room for the game itself on the disc. On top of also being a really ambitious game for the CDI, being both a 2D platformer and a first-person game, featuring 15 levels filled with full-motion video, it's obvious that the game was simply too ambitious for the console that was mainly made to play software like Sticky Bear Reading and strip poker. After 2 years of development hell and basically crawling in development at this point, Philips was no longer happy with how the project was turning out, and so they decided to cut the team's funding entirely, in which Sigum said, "Oh sh*." They quickly tried to replace the Mario theme with a generic rock and roll theme, and also tried replacing Mario with his rival at the time, Sonic, to see if Sega would be potentially interested in publishing the game for the Sega CD. But Sega didn't even bother looking at Sigum's calls, and the rock and roll idea didn't go that much further. Eventually, Sigum went bankrupt, and Mario Takes America was no more. To this day, the only public mention of this game was this CDI magazine that briefly talked about the game, and some footage that was reportedly shown off at a New York City CDI conference in 1993, and Winter CES in 1994, but sadly, no footage has yet surfaced from these events. Thus, Mario failed to take America, and Hotel Mario ended up being the only Mario game to actually release on the CDI. No, spoilers.